mortal's head a garland set, because I am teaching about great things, and try to free men's mind from the narrow bonds of religion. Nothing ever comes to be from nothing through divine intervention, for certainly not by design did the first beginnings of things arrange themselves in their order, with keen intent, nor surely did they reach an agreement about what motions each would take, since many of them are moved in many ways throughout the universe, and from endless time are stirred up and excited by collisions. By trying motions and unions of every kind, they finally arrive at arrangements which produce and maintain the sum of things. And with whatever motions the first beginnings now move, they moved with the same motions in ages past, and in the future will always be carried along in a similar way. And they will arise under the same conditions and will exist and grow and flourish in their strength, in so far as it is granted to each through the laws of nature.
Hi, hello. I think it sounds like it's working. No? Or a little bit louder? Like this? Hello. Hi. How are you?
It is a
Testen. Ist das laut? Testen. Lucretius. De rerum natura. Ist das so? Okay. It is a joy to approach pure springs and to drink from them. And it is a joy to pick new flowers, to seek a glorious crown for my head. Yeah? It is a joy to approach pure springs and to eat from them. And it is a joy to pick new flowers and to seek a glorious crown for my head. Also lauter als so werde ich nicht sprechen.
Und dann wird viel vom Sound weggeschluckt sein.
Ja.
Wenn du das Gefühl hast, das ist ein bisschen wenig da, dann würde ich bitte Nachzug, also ein bisschen mehr zu geben.
Also soll ich jetzt dann lauter werden oder pegelst du mich rauf? Wir müssen uns über was einigen.
Es kann sein, dass dies... Ich kann nicht sehr weit aufdrehen, weil ich sonst Feedback kriege.
Okay.
Wenn ich lauteren Input schon habe,
dann
kommt auch mehr raus, aber ich habe das Feedback nicht.
Okay.
Das heißt, wenn du jetzt das Gefühl hast, es ist eher leise, weil die so viele Leute da sind, weil der Nachhalt weniger wird, dann hilft das der Allgemeinheit, wenn du lauter sprichst.
Okay.
Generell ist es für den Sound immer besser, wenn du lauter gesprochen hast.
Okay, dann rede ich ein bisschen lauter und dann wirst du schon hören, wie das ungefähr ist und dann kannst du mich entweder raufpegeln oder, ich weiß nicht, oder wenn ich merke, es passiert nichts, dann werde ich vielleicht ein bisschen lauter.
Ja, also einfach mit kräftiger Stimme sprechen, den Rest macht dann ich.
Okay, gut. Ja.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Right. Great. Well, I'm gonna save some battery on my phone and just turn it off for now, and I'll come back on right before. Okay. Great. All right. See you soon. Thought I heard somebody calling. Oh, okay. Hey. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, no, that's okay. I'll make it, it's easy. I'll just note that in my text. Exactly. Okay. See you soon. Yeah. Yeah. Excited.
Hast du Lust? So einen nackigen Po zeigen? Nackter Po, nackter Po. Oh.
It is a joy to approach pure springs and to drink from them.
Hallo Ezra.
And it is a joy to pick new
wait.
flowers.
Yes, yes. Hello.
Hallo?
Hello.
Hallo?
Hello, hello. Who's that?
Hallo, Ezra.
Ah, ça c'est Chris. She can't hear you. J'ai les écouteurs. Elle ne peut pas.
Ah, okay.
Cosmos does not refer to outer space.
went in and out because of the sound thing.
Wir befinden uns hier in einer Teststation, in einem Prototyp, in dem wir uns mit der Materialität des Virtuellen und physisch Realen beschäftigen, um so einen Imaginationsraum und Verhandlungsraum aufzufalten. Planetary Skins ist wie eine osmotische Haut, in der das Virtuelle zur Membran zwischen physischen Orten und virtuellem Raum wird. Es geht uns nicht um Simulation von Realität, ganz im Gegenteil. Die Virtualität, wie wir sie verstehen, verbindet Mitwirkende aus unterschiedlichen Weltteilen miteinander und bringt reale Ambivalenzen, Konflikte und Potenziale in Resonanz. Es geht uns auch nicht darum, Bewusstsein zu schaffen über ökologische Situationen oder über politische Problemzonen. Wir wissen ohnehin alle Bescheid. Was wir viel mehr brauchen, sind Werkzeuge und mehr noch die Fähigkeit zu handeln, das, was man Agency nennt. Agency bezeichnet James Bridle als Gefühl, die Kontrolle über sein eigenes Leben zu haben und Schritte zur Veränderung ergreifen zu können und damit auch unsere Welt mitzugestalten. Der Verlust der Handlungsmacht bzw. auch das Gefühl ihres Verlustes verhindert hingegen, dass wir neue Vorstellungen und Verhaltensweisen entwickeln und ausprobieren können. Und genau das ist das Trauma, das nicht nur Einzelne, sondern die ganze Gesellschaft erfasst hat. Unter Agency kann man auch die bewusste Wahrnehmung verstehen, dass man alles lernen kann, dass man weiß oder wenn man weiß, dass man sich Dinge aneignen kann, kann man sie auch angehen. Und man ist in der Lage, Vorstellungen zu entwickeln und sich nicht entmutigen zu lassen, wenn diese als utopisch, als Fantasiegebilde oder Fabulationen abgetan werden. Über 3 Kontinente hinweg werden Künstlerinnen, Philosophinnen, Wissenschaftlerinnen fabulieren. Sie werden uns künstlerische Imaginationen, poetische Wortbilder, wissenschaftliche Erkenntnisse oder einfach Geschichten näher bringen. Auch wenn sie aus unterschiedlichen Geisteswelten stammen und sich verschiedener Realitätskonzepte bedienen, was sie verbindet, ist, dass sie über die Möglichkeit einer Welt in Vielfalt sprechen. Diese organischen Netze, die man als Omentum bezeichnet, sind intelligente Membrane, die eine wichtige Funktion im Immunsystem haben. Ähnliche Membrane entstehen, weil sie sich auf vielfältige Art und Weise als praktisch und erfolgreich erweisen. Muster wiederholen sich, ziehen sich durch das gesamte Naturzusammenhang, von den kleinsten Mikroorganismen über Pilzmyzelien bis zum Gehirn und auch zur kosmischen Supernova. Planetary Skins ist wie eine osmotische Haut, in der das Virtuelle zur Membran mutiert, um eine gleichzeitige Präsenz im physischen und im virtuellen Raum zu ermöglichen. Technologie dient uns dazu, über Raum und Zeitzonen hinweg gemeinsam über Synergien nachzudenken und Ideen auszutauschen, um die Welt mit der Evolutionsbiologin Lynn Margulis als Organismus zu betrachten, als ein System von einfachen und komplexen Organismen, die nicht völlig voneinander abgrenzbar sind und die durch Myriaden verknüpfter, kommunizierender Schichten in enger, oft symbiotischer Beziehung stehen. Und der Mensch ist Teil davon. Dieser Ansatz kann uns zu einer neuen Agency führen. Einer Agency, die von der Wirkmacht der Natur lernt und sich mit ihr verbündet, um einen obsolet gewordenen Humanismus hinter sich zu lassen und Diversität als Vielfalt und Reichtum der Natur zu feiern.
does not refer to outer space, but on the contrary to locality, says the philosopher Yu Kui. The widest expanse, the universal contracted into tiny space. What does Yu Kui allude to? His idea of cosmos is different from the Euromodern perspective. We always observe cosmos from a particular angle, a particular locality, Yu Kui argues. Cosmos is multiplicity, not singularity. What if there were other images and tales of cosmos, beyond the imagination of the Western scientific narrative? At this point, speculation begins. We don't know where it will take us, but that is the fun part of it. It taps into contingent stories and evidence of the past and will ultimately reshape how we perceive the world in the future. Surprising and sometimes alien, cosmos emerges in diverse conceptions of earth and birth, continuation and dissipation, beings in flesh and other matter, denser or looser, entangled matter it is always. To do this, we need a different mode of sensing and sense-making, a new kind of speculative agency. Shall we call it re-entanglement for lack of a better word? Not that we have become unentangled, quite the contrary. Increasingly, we become aware of our impact on nature and the web of life. Sylvia Winter calls it our environment in common, even though we treat it in the most uncommon of ways, due to the exploitation, havoc, and annihilation we humans, and mainly humans from the West, have brought to many worlds and beings, including myriad humans, for centuries. What you see around you in the physical space at the gallery, as well as the virtual space from which I'm speaking to you, is a prototype of an exploration into speculative agency, to Yu Kui's insight of a cosmos that refers to locality. We now add that cosmos always speaks of the sheer abundance of entangled diversity. Can we partake in, or even better, can we re-entangle with its magic by grasping the virtual as a membrane, as a connective tissue for the myriad webs of life we inhabit, our planetary skins? Because cosmos is everywhere, and everywhere slightly differently.
crown for my head. From that place where the muses never yet have on a mortal's head a garland set. Because I am teaching about great things, because I am teaching about great things, and try to free men's mind from the narrow bonds of religion. Nothing ever comes to be from nothing through divine intervention, for certainly not by design did the first beginnings of things arrange themselves in their order, with keen intent. Nor surely did they reach an agreement about what motions each would take, since many of them are moved in many ways throughout the universe, and from endless time stirred and excited they finally arrive at arrangements which produce and went in. They finally arrive at arrangements which produce and went in. Ages past, and in the future will always be carried along in a similar way, and they will arise under the same under the same conditions, and will exist and grow and flourish in their strength, insofar as it is granted to each through the laws of nature.
Wir leben auf einer dünnen, steinigen Kruste, die wir unsere Heimat nennen. Aber das ist nur die Oberfläche allen Lebens. Das große Ganze fließt im Untergrund und gehaucht anderen Zeitdimensionen als dem menschlichen Augenblick. Was wir als Erde bewohnen, ist die Akne, der Auswurf und das Exkrement tiefer Prozesse. Die Haut der Erde ist die Lithosphäre, die harte Erdkruste, über die sich zwiebelartig flüssige und gasförmige Sphären schichten. Wir treffen uns heute in der Atmosphäre, in der Dampf- und Gashülle metabolischer Darmwinde, in der photosynthetischen Ausdünstung des Planktons, im Dunstschweiß und Mundgeruch des Lebens. Alles zusammen nannte der Philosoph Stephen Paul Andrews im 19. Jahrhundert Geosphäre. Sie reicht vom Lichtblau des Himmels bis ins Höllenschwarz der Erdkruste. Und dass die Geosphäre nur zum Teil anorganischen oder vulkanischen Ursprungs ist, erkannte sein Zeitgenosse Edward Suess. Und Edward Suess definierte die Geosphäre erstmals als Biosphäre. Der Geowissenschaftler Wladimir Vernadsky definierte wenig später die Erdkruste als globales Ökosystem im Sinne einer Global Skin, einer belebten Haut. Geologie und Biologie verschmelzen zur Geobiologie und begründen Vorstellungen wie etwa die Gaia-Hypothese oder das Raumschiff Erde. Vernadsky erkannte, dass Gestein, das heißt die harte Lithosphäre, nicht tot ist, sondern Ausdruck des Lebendigen. Selbst Granit wird unter Druck durchlässig wie ein Schwamm und ist vom Mikron besiedelt. Und er erkannte, dass spätestens mit der industriellen Transformation die Menschheit Teil der Geologie geworden ist, indem sie in Summe mehr Erdmasse bewegt als alle Vorgänger in der nichtmenschlichen Biosphäre. Vernadsky nannte diese technokulturelle Sphäre in Vorausschau auf das heutige Anthropozän Noosphäre. Und diese Sphäre des menschlichen Verstandes verwandelte die Lithosphäre in Beton und Städte, baut elektronische Netzwerke aus Silizium und spannt eine Infosphäre als digitale Haut über den Planeten. Aber die größte Datendichte der Biodiversität herrscht dennoch im Hades, im Dunkeln der Lithosphäre. Rund 70% aller Archeen und Bakterien leben nicht im Himmel oder im sonnengefluteten Paradiesgärten, sondern in der Hölle, in und unter der Oberhaut der Erde. Die Vielfalt des Lebens hat also ihren Ursprung nicht an der Oberfläche, vielmehr wächst sie in den tiefen Poren der globalen Haut.
opportunity to start with this quotation by Epicurus, as I would like to share a little bit about nothing. It is quite fascinating to recollect what astrophysicists have found out about the universe. As it appears, there are stars and there are galaxies and black holes, regions that are densely filled with matter. But also, there are regions of space that are not occupied by material bodies, be it in the vastness of cosmological space or in chambers that are purposefully designed for it. And in this sense, the vacuum or the void starts to exist. This is an accused rather non-material for us today, that the soul is fiercely real. However, the vacuum seems not to be completely empty, and as quantum field theory suggests, supposedly ineradicable fluctuations of virtual particles fundamentally undo mere nothingness. Although these quantum fluctuations do not materialize, they have physical consequences, as experiments show. On a cosmological scale, space devoid of matter appears to govern the accelerating expansion of the universe, and consequently it affects both the evolution as well as the end of the cosmos. Needless to say that nothing really matters.
Radical matterist. Take heart. We are no longer in the world of enlightenment of the 19th century. We move through the portals of these planetary skins that base themselves on emergence. But this is a weird thing, this emergence. It is the result of a counter of entanglement, sticky cohesions, where the outcome becomes the start, where the portal becomes the knowledge. It's the name, the word emergence, of our new time, our radical, erotic, distributed intelligent moment. And rather than fear, we take heart. We have agency in these wild forms of matter.
Planetary skins connect the world osmotically. Throughout the Earth's biospheres, filled with ambivalence, conflict, and potentials. Matter inhabits time multidimensionally, and a plurality of space, it permeates all scales, from the invisible realms of quantum particles, molecular assemblages, and microorganisms, to the unfathomable stretches of the stars, galaxies, and space-time, to the dwindling world we live in now and here. The agency of cosmos is to create and be created. Dimensions abound, everywhere things happen. Reality is sheer abundance. Still, in futile attempts, we deprive ourselves of its wonders. We make it scarce in order to control it, feed off of it, and feel safe. But the safety that lies in fear and anxiety is a miserable illusion. There are always risks, better or worse ones. We've all experienced it.
Today, those imaginations return to haunt us in search of progress, deprived of trivial, subversive, or utopian intentions, commodified into the dull version of the fantasies originally dreamt up in the imagination. Colourful plastic debris of garbage that is reality. The New York tells me that Microsoft has recently bought the computer game company Activision to furnish the vast realms of the coming, or not coming, metaverse. When Neil Stephenson popularized the notion of the metaverse in the 1990s novel Snow Crash, he probably did not imagine technology companies actually throwing billions of dollars at the realization of this imaginary, three-dimensional virtual space. If an imaginary virtual space becomes a real virtual space, where exactly is the difference between those two rather abstract realms? First of all, when this fantastic abstract meta-space leaves the book covers and enters computer code, it will turn from a fiction into a simulation, which probably means that it exists no longer inside of you, but you exist inside of it. Simulations aim to be indistinguishable from the world, where fictions, by definition, set themselves apart from reality. In a world that increasingly coincides with simulation models that constantly predict, calculate, and regulate it, could fiction, in its old-fashioned insistence not to be real, in its persistence on a seam that tells it apart from reality, become a contemporary mode of critique?
Wo soll ich hin?
In die Richtung.
Okay. Ob wir nun wie Marian Kaiser gerade eben live aus Kinshasa, ob wir dort sind oder Johnny Golding in London, Tanja Traxler oder Thomas Lael in den USA oder wir hier in Innsbruck sind, überall, egal wo wir sind, ist immer über uns unsere planetare Haut. Unsere planetare Haut ist keine Grenze. Sie ist etwas völlig Durchlässiges. Es ist unsere Atmosphäre und sie ist extrem dünn. Sie beträgt weniger als 1% unseres Erdradius. Der ist 6.378 Kilometer. Und die verschiedenen Sphären unserer Atmosphäre reichen nur bis 50 Kilometer über dem Erdboden. Die Obergrenze ist die Stratosphäre. Und 50 Kilometer, wenn wir das überlegen, von hier Innsbruck nach Imst, das sind ungefähr 50 Kilometer. Also es ist eine ganz kurze Distanz. Als Joseph Kittinger, ein US-Fallschirmjäger der US-Armee, 1960, noch vor Felix Baumgartner, den Weltrekord brach, als er in einer Höhe von 31 Kilometern, also in der Stratosphäre, sozusagen aus seiner Gondel abgesprungen ist und sozusagen in Richtung Erde gesprungen ist, befand er sich 4,5 Minuten im freien Fall. Und er erinnert sich. Ich hatte wirklich kein Gefühl des Fallens. Ich drehte mich auf den Rücken und schaute nach oben, wo der Ballon in den Himmel raste. In 30 Kilometern Höhe also rollte sich Kittinger auf den Rücken, als wolle er sich auf diese dünne Atmosphäre legen und sieht, wie seine Gondel in den Himmel, ins All, in die Sterne rast. Er fällt mit Schallgeschwindigkeit und er hat kein Gefühl des Fallens, des Sinkens. Er fühlt sich schwebend. Es ist wie, als würde er nach oben fallen. Also hatte Thales von Milly recht. In der Realität leben wir nicht auf einer Schicht aus Erde, sondern auf dem Grund eines Ozeans aus Luft. In diesem schwebte Kittinger. Das erinnert mich an ein Buch von Stephen Baxter, Evolution. Und Stephen Baxter hat in diesem Buch spekulative Momente der Menschheitsgeschichte von den Dinosaurierzeiten bis in die ferne Zukunft mit wissenschaftlichen Gegebenheiten vermischt. Und er beschreibt eine Art Pterosaurier, Flugsaurier also, die mit filigranen Flügeln eine Spannweite von 100 Metern erreicht haben sollen. Und dieser Pterosaurier lebte in der Stratosphäre in einer Höhe, in der sich Kittinger befand, als er 1960 absprang aus seiner Gondel. Und dieser Luftwal, der in Dinosaurierzeiten gelebt haben könnte, schaufelte beständig Plankton, Insekten und Spinnen, also alles, was sozusagen von unten nach oben gekommen ist, in sein riesiges Maul. Und jeden Tag sozusagen hat er die Erde umrundet und bei diesem sozusagen wie ein Satellit hat er das gemacht und er konnte immer die Krümmung der Erde sehen und über sich das Schwarze des Alls.
Space is born and time. No Big Bang, no Big Chill, no stasis, no power, no hierarchies, no essence, no God, no deities. No Big Bang, no Big stasis, no power, no hierarchies, no essence, no God, no deities. Only quantum indeterminacy. History, order, and habits arise. History and habits arise. History, order, and habits arise. Fold up and vanish below the surface of presence, presence, presence. Unsaturated, they fold up and vanish below the surface of presence. As to all things, as to all things, as to all things, as to all things, as to all, 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 as to all things, as to all, 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 as to all things.
But is it about reorientation, as we are often reassured? A new renaissance, a new enlightenment? Won't it just keep us on track of modernity, this colonizing worldview that projects itself onto quantifiable space? Won't it just feed our imagination with small adjustments and nicer behavior while we stick to well-worn trails? There is urgency to finally emancipate from all these outdated concepts and the violence they are still provoking. Shouldn't we instead listen closely to those more chthonic cosmic poets and makers arriving from the human as well as more than human worlds? Those who appreciate the wild and chaotic, the turbulent and contingent, the alterity within entangled relations. Those who embrace raw matter as ever-changing emergence and engage in non-adaptation to the technologies of ideology and foundational ideals. Those whose debt to the earth, the air, and all that lives has taught them how entangled, as matter we all are, coexisting with everything alive. Don't these voices, these new agents, claim, at last, a pluriform counter-cosmology in which co-presence resolves the institutions of self-referentiality in the immanence of being as love?
Opens your eye. Her square, round people stipulates somewhere behind the forehead, pulsate with a white noise and nothingness. She has 8-month armpit vagina testings, and they stretch and they yawn, albeit at atonal, globally semi-forward intervals. We can say she, he, it, they, shit. Her first being of the kind of product, but with my hands somewhere in the big out there. The fact that not existent is going to look like that, provide others plastic that wouldn't ever live. Vera conjectures occupancy if the giant is hot as some kind of big level, similar to these two-part Israelite beings, much more common. Maybe it's closer to a series of eviscerated dark matter vacuums driven by objects geared to pleasure them, whose only collect coral is to emasculate beings, to charm, disavow, in one elegant orgasmic grip, hanging all who might enter the ship variegated under the high hole. In the process of the top, we how strange and democratic. The very private working chemicals will work with the record. It cannot be that difficult to just a relative pucker simultaneously. We have a certain kind of a certain kind of karma. You have a certain kind of hell.
Since you cannot see the first beginnings of things with your eyes, let me remind you, besides, that there are bodies which you must admit exist in things and yet are not able to be seen. Therefore, there exists intangible space, void and emptiness. If void did not exist, there is no way things would be able to move. For that which is the natural role of corporis, to roll, impede, and obstruct, would be present at all times for all things, and therefore nothing would be able to move forward, because nothing would yield a place from where to start. Therefore, either all bodies must be deprived of motion, or it must be admitted that void is mixed in things. And from this source, each thing takes its first beginning of motion.
And since void is present in created things, it must be that solid matter exists around. The first beginnings of created things must of necessity possess a secret and invisible nature, so that nothing would fight against and hinder whatever is created, so that nothing would fight against and hinder whatever is created from being able to exist with its own character. For sky, sea, earth, rivers and sun are composed of the same things, and so too are crops, trees and animals. They mix different things and move in different ways.
Das menschliche Mikrobiom bezieht sich auf die Gesamtheit aller Mikroben in unserem Körper. Es ist in Geweben, in Flüssigkeiten überall enthalten. Und man kann im Magen-Darm-Trakt oder aber auch auf der Haut Mikroben finden, mikrobisches Leben. Es gibt ungefähr Milliarden, 3, 4, 5 Milliarden von Mikroben, ungefähr so viele, wie es menschliche Zellen gibt. Und wir glauben immer, dass unser Körper ganz scharf umgrenzt ist, eine ganz klare Grenze hat. Aber in Wirklichkeit ist es etwas Durchlässiges und ein gigantischer Planet für Mikroben. Mikroben können unter extremsten Bedingungen leben. Es gibt Mikroben, die konnten auf der Außenhaut des Space Shuttles ins Weltall fahren und wieder lebendig zurückkehren. In der weltraumähnlichsten Umgebung auf der Erde, der Antarktis, kann man sehr viele Meteoriten finden, die von fremden Planeten stammen. Hier wurde 1984 der ALH 84001 entdeckt. Steht für Allen Hills, das ist ein großes Gebiet in der Antarktis, ein Meteorit. Und dieser Stein, hat man herausgefunden, ist 4 Milliarden Jahre alt und kommt vom Mars. Und er hat sozusagen den Weg zur Erde genommen zu einer Zeit, als es am Mars noch flüssiges Wasser gegeben hat. Und Astrobiologen haben diesen Stein untersucht und haben darin sozusagen mögliche Hinweise auf mikrobisches Leben am Mars gefunden. Nach vielen Jahren der Debatte hat sich das aber als nicht richtig herausgestellt und diese Hypothese musste revidiert werden.
Tiefer als der Tag gedacht ist nicht nur die menschliche Psyche, tiefer als der Tag gedacht ist das Leben an sich. Das himmlische Leben ist photoautotroph, es nährt sich von Sonnenlicht, aber es gibt noch eine andere Art der Autotrophie in der dunklen Unterwelt, die Chemolithoautotrophie. Sie bildet die Schattenseite des Lebens. Die ältesten Lebensformen sind chemolithoautotrophe Archeen und Bakterien, die sich von Steinen und Mineralien ernähren. Und diese chemolithoautotrophen, wörtlich steinessenden Organismen, stellen die herkömmliche Biologie auf den Kopf. Ohne Sonnenlicht, ohne Photosynthese beziehen sie ihre Energie aus organischen Verbindungen, aus Eisen, Mangan, Uran, Arsen oder Schwefel. Ein gutes Drittel der gesamten Biomasse des Lebens steckt vermutlich in der Erdkruste. Und diese Mikroben gelten unter Astrobiologen als wahrscheinlichste Lebensform auf fremden Planeten. Metaphorisch gesprochen begegnen wir in der Hölle nicht dem Teufel, sondern Aliens, mikroskopisch kleinen Außerirdischen.
as do all things, as do all things, as do all things, as do all things, as do all, 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 as do all things, as do all, 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 as do all things.
Something moves from one point to another in space and time. But what if space and time are also moving outward in all directions as the universe expands? What if the fabric of space-time itself is woven from the many energetic fluctuations as the universe? It means that there are space time, and that the entire cosmos is constantly changing. It also means that movement is around if everything is in motion, why do they seem relatively stable? Why do they think of movement as going from one point to another? The answer takes us back to the beginning of the universe. Our universe began as a hot and dense region of space-time, 13.8 billion years ago, that has been spreading out cooler ever since. This is what we call entropy. As the cosmos spreads out, higher energy concentrations slowly dissolve in the mist and until everything is purged. This process of spreading out creates atoms, such as stars, spiral galaxies, that persist and dissipate their energy as long as they have enough fuel. Just like eddy water spiraling down your bathtub drain, or a living organism. They run out of energy, or Why is it important? Many people, including philosophers, tend to think of reality as made of discrete things and people. But there are no things or people. There are only processes and patterns in motion. Nouns are conceptual shortcuts for movements. They are abstractions that help us wash dishes, build skyscrapers. People and things are only the tip of nature's iceberg.
Don't we need a different approach to technology and the digital too? One that counters the techno-capitalist fantasies of the metaverse and other predictive simulations that only produce extractive asymmetries and biases. widen the gap between the rich and the poor, exploit divisive politics, and reinsert reactionary norms of class, race, and gender, prejudices we need to overcome. There is much to regret, and it seems much to be infuriated about. Rage is growing everywhere, but giving yourself over to the death drive, to hate and inclusion, to destruction and war won't help. There's no way out. We are too deeply entangled in nature's relational processes to free ourselves and do as we please, whatever that would even mean. But there are ways in. There are many forms of sensing and sense-making. We only need to evoke the diversity of practices, ancient or indigenous, animated or artificial, scientific or cultural, all of them methods of learning and unlearning that can reconcile us with being part of nature in its wild, entangled meshes. In fact, this is a derivative speculation. It engages in experimental flights and recalibrations of self-transgression, instead of being fundamental and idealistic at its core. It is less about fixed objects and objectives, because it focuses on and immerses in liminal, ephemeral, and volatile relations, matter whose emergence reads reality incessantly.
Non-human perception. Physical vacuum hints at the fact that the boundary of possibility and reality is not as sharp as long presumed. The common view regards possibility and reality as a dichotomy, according to which something is either real or possible, but never both at once. And also, there is always the same temporal sequence. First, there are possibilities, and only later comes reality. And this results from one of these possibilities. In this understanding, reality and possibility are mutually exclusive. However, if the vacuum holds the inevitable possibility of harboring virtual particles, this indicates a mode of possibility which is real in its being possible. Virtual particles are real in a fundamental sense. They are not limited to mere mathematical possibilities, but hold real consequences without being actually materialized. While virtual particles are very short-lived and can never be directly seen, quantum field theory tells us that virtual particles act as a messenger between other particles. Virtual particles embody what philosophers like Henri Bergson and Gilles Deleuze dreamed of. A form of possibility which is real in its being possible. Needless to say that nothing really matters.
In this matter, I want you to understand too that when the first bodies are moving straight downward through the void by their own weight, at times completely undetermined, and in undetermined places they swerve a little from their course, but only so much as you could call a change of motion. Because unless they were accustomed to swerving, all would fall downwards like drops of rain through the deep void. All would fall down. All would fall downwards like drops of rain through the deep void. Nor would a collision occur, nor would a blow be produced by the first beginnings. Wherefore, again and again it is necessary that corpora swerve a little, but no more than a minimum, lest we seem to be inventing oblique motions and the true facts refuted. And next, if every motion is always linked, and a new one always arises from an old one in sure succession, and therefore the primary bodies do not burst the laws of fate. From where does there arise for living creatures throughout the world this voluntas, this purpose of desire, this purpose of desire, torn from fate, by which we go wherever pleasure leads each of us, and where the mind itself carries us. For doubtless one's own will provides for each the beginning of these things, and from it motions stream through the limbs. So far as it is granted to each through the laws of nature.
Das Leben steckt nicht in Worten und Bildern, das Leben steckt in den Molekülen. Was wir in der Natur verstehen, ist ein hauchdünner, kurzer Film im Phantasmagorium unserer beschränkten Vorstellung. Im Kino unserer Kultur läuft ein nostalgischer Film. Die rund 500 Millionen Quadratkilometer Erdoberfläche mit ihren Wiesen, Wäldern und Ozeanen scheinen eine große Leinwand für unsere Naturprojektion zu sein. Aber in Relation zu den 5 Milliarden Kubikkilometern belebter Erdkruste ist die sichtbare Oberfläche nur ein zähfließender Schaum von Gebirgen und Tälern. Das Leben passiert im Untergrund, im Plutonit des Hades, unter wenigen Metern blaugrüner Haut. Oder wie Hugh McDiarmid dichtete, all is litiginesis, Laccia, carbolite fruit of the forbidden tree.
They consist of so-called passecker, perfectly square pieces of land separated by walls, the gigantic chessboard of the city that ends somewhere. The blueprint was space for the Belgian Military Camp. Every parcel that makes up Kinshasa today is a cell that was first sketched on a piece of graph paper by the Belgian colonial administration and then printed onto the soil for kilometers and kilometers. I can see Christ's in Lydia's parcel in the distance. It is 73 squares forward and then 24 parcels to the left. I decide to drive over, got the keys to their parcel while the two are in my apartment in Berlin. When I enter their parcel, I find it filled with dozens of books hanging on invisible little threads from the roof, the trees, the ceiling, like miniature models of the parcel itself. Some of them still perfectly rectangular, others already in various states of decay. I have a closer look and realize that I'm surrounded by cheap Amazon reprints of Euclid's Elements in a beautiful edition that include Oliver Burns' famous colorful sketches from 1847. Standing in the rectangular geometric form amongst thousands of other rectangular parcels that all originated on the Belgian graph, surrounded by the small rectangular invention of geometry slowly deteriorating and changing elements constantly use. I ask myself, what prints into those books? And what does Euclid have to tell us in Kinshasa? I open my laptop, hit Command Space, and type in tabulation. A text by Daniel Colicello Barber pops up. Quote, however, one resists this fiction not by casting one's lot with the real, since the real, at least when it is defined in stark opposition to fictive, is the effect of preceding fiction. And one frees the real from the pre-established fiction, not by refusing the fabulous. The point is that one resists the fiction of the present by producing another story. Or more precisely, by turning the power of fabulation against fictions that present themselves as the truth. The opposition between the true and the false is thus crossed by the necessity of telling a story, and excessively so.
L'artiste sur l'image, il a installé une pyramide de cailloux sur le bord de la route. Peut-être de la taille d'une main lorsqu'elle est serrée en un point. Il m'a dit, ceci est un portrait. Je suis Christ. L'autre jour, je me suis promené. J'ai vu une peinture sur un mur. Quand j'ai demandé l'artiste sur l'image, il a installé une pyramide de cailloux sur le bord de la route. Peut-être de la taille d'une main lorsqu'elle est serrée en un point. Il m'a dit, ceci est un portrait. Je suis triste. L'autre jour, je me suis promené. J'ai vu une peinture sur un mur. Quand j'ai demandé l'artiste sur l'image, il a installé une pyramide de cailloux sur le bord de la route. Peut-être de la taille d'une main lorsqu'elle est serrée en un point. Il m'a dit, ceci est un portrait. Jusqu'où l'âme peut-elle agir à travers les yeux? Le miroir augmente la distance. Pourtant l'âme est incapable d'aller plus loin que votre regard qui interprète l'image. Le secret est profond. Il fallait jaillir les cheveux. L'âme n'est pas une âme. Elle n'a pas de secret. Elle est petite et ne s'appelle pas dans son entier. Ça change indépendamment de moi. Qu'est-ce qu'un portrait? Une différence tentante de la face. L'un est là où l'autre n'est pas pareil. Il est sur dans une domaine en moins.
Do we lack the imaginative power to leap from our limited humanism to sensing and sense-making with a more open, wilder awareness? What about the courage to dream up a magical imagination that decenters us towards a joyful appreciation of all that exists and lives, that allows us to turn from seeking the next fixed position, the gridlock we call security, to a motion more akin to breathing, a sense of being in and with the world, and a resolute move towards a more inclusive activation that is not afraid of what circles back.
Until all unravels, until all sounds and dissolves, until all unravels, until all unravels,
Vor kurzem ist die Raumsonde JUICE gestartet. JUICE steht für Jupiter Ice Moons. Und es ist eine Mission der Europäischen Weltraumbehörde. Und es geht darum, die Eismonde Ganymede und Europa zu erforschen. In 8 Jahren wird diese Sonde erst in das Jupiter-System eintreten. Und dann werden diese Eisplaneten erforscht werden, Eismonde erforscht werden. Und die sind besonders interessant, weil sie wahnsinnig dicke planetare Schichten haben. Kilometer von Eis. Dicke Häute aus Eis eben. Und darunter vermutet man Salzwasser und eventuell Leben. Und ich frage mich, ob das diese Hölle ist, um mit Thomas Feuersteins Worten zu sprechen, wo wir dann die lang ersehnten Aliens finden werden. Mikroben sind also überall im Kosmos. Und während die einfach sich so bewegen können, frei ins All und zurück, brauchen wir mit unserem Mikrobiom als sehr fragile Lebewesen ein spezielles technologisches Konstrukt, eine Miniaturerde, eine Raumschiff-Biosphäre. Nur so können wir im All leben. Dort, wo es sehr unwirtlich zugeht, extreme Temperaturunterschiede, Vakuum, kein Druck, Mikrometeoritenschauer und Strahlung. Und wenn wir nicht umgeben sind von einem Raumschiff oder irgendeiner anderen Schutzhülle, so sind wir in wenigen Sekunden tot. Und die Schutzhülle, die wir im erdnahen Orbit benötigen, in einer Raumstation, um diese extremen Umweltbedingungen und Druckunterschiede eben dem etwas entgegenzusetzen und uns zu schützen, ist völlig undurchlässig, total dicht und ist nur 4,8 Millimeter dick. Und das ist sogar etwas weniger als mein Daumennagel breit ist. Und wenn ich mir das so überlege, diese 4,8 Millimeter Daumennagelmembran, die mich sozusagen in dem Raumschiff von diesen extremen Umweltbedingungen beschützt und mein Überleben sichert, so ist es ein bisschen eine Entsprechung von dieser sehr dünnen 50 Kilometer Atmosphäre, die unsere riesige Erde, unser Raumschiff Erde umgibt.
To understand a climate is to grasp an atmosphere, says the philosopher Emanuele Coccia. This thought dives into the plurality of beings and things, into the multiplicity of cosmos. To grasp is to take something into your hands, symbolically. It transforms the hand into a thought as comprehension, into sensing as sense-making. And further, if you grasp an atmosphere, you take part in it. It might exist without you, but in a magical term, it also exists because of you. We are, for better or for worse, an agency in nature's composition. We are learning this lesson the harsh way, and opposition is still out of proportion. Instead of turning a blind eye to climate change, global warming, mass extinction, dying oceans, and all other consequences of our doings, we could seize the opportunity and learn how such ecoclimates can teach us what it means to be sentient co-actors, and in symbiosis with our host, the planet we call Earth, learn what it means to co-create an atmosphere of co-presence.
Talking about today was that its aliveness to the great out there seemed to come alive precisely in the stretch time of the classical modernist 4 minutes 33 seconds symphonic movement of silence. Her inhabiting of this strange kind of noise, this strange kind of noise of emergence, this noise of wondering and wandering, floating around, dithering, rifting on the riffs, not only has enabled a whole series of mad, wild forms of imaginative concertos in 8-part harmony, 9 if you counted the eye-brain blobhead, if and when it might enter the make-it-as-you-go-along listening fray, but also encouraged a profound set of yearnings for soaking up the wet of pleasure, decadence, mutation, and slime. Oh, what the hell, would sing Octopussy to the water gods, with its 8 arms dancing a rumba cum improv, the ensuing accidental and dizzying encounters produce, perhaps not unsurprisingly, specialized fractals of sense and sensation, elegant electrified currents and slices of electrified currents stretching out in all directions at once. It's one thing to think of things expanding infinitely, but now think of it contracting infinitely. That's how mad it gets.
Beyond it, those many bodies of matter do nothing at all. Since everywhere infinite space lies empty, and seeds, numberless in their number, the totality of the heavenly depths, fly around in many ways, driven on be admitted that there are other worlds in other regions, as well as different races of men and breeds of wild beasts, until nature, the perfecting and creative mother of things, has led all to the final limit of growth. Here, development ought to stop for all things. Here, nature forcefully reins in growth. All things gradually waste away and go to the grave, exhausted by the long space of time. So too, therefore, will the walls of the wide world be assailed on all sides, and sink and sink and sink into crumbling ruins.
Instead of looking at the world through the pinhole of discrete things, what if we focused on the movements and processes? This could have applications across scales. Perhaps it could even help us avoid a few problems. For instance, ecological systems are not made of discrete plants, animals, and resources. They are vast webs of interconnected processes. When people destroy one part of the ecological process, it can negatively affect the whole system in unpredictable ways. By not taking the entangled movement of metastable ecology seriously, various groups of people have inadvertently hastened mass extinction and climate change. Similarly, societies are not made of discrete people. When one part of a social process is damaged by social and economic inequality, the effects ripple through the whole system of social circulation like a wave. For instance, global economic inequality creates patterns of migration that make wealthy countries richer by taking away workers from poor countries. Borders are violent and failing attempts to control the consequences of not taking inequality, mobility, and social feedback loops seriously. Each person is also a process. We consume energy, circulate it through our bodies, and release it. Our brains and nervous systems use this energy to rewire substances in a process that involves neuroplasticity. People are not one-dimensional characters with beautiful identities. We are works in progress, continually experimenting with different ways of thinking. When we treat people like discrete and inflexible individuals, or when others treat us this way, it can create psychological stress and illness. What else are we missing by using conceptual shortcuts without paying attention to the processes underneath? What if we thought about the world as processes and patterns of emotion, instead of thinking of people or things? It might just change everything.
Nothing is unnatural, not even artificial intelligence. Nature is everywhere, and all matter exists in relation to others. The term natural is a construct. Technology is a part of cosmic ecology, from the depth of rare earth to the shiny surfaces of our interfaces. How do we deepen the resolution of our knowledge? In other words, how and what we feel and perceive. How do we understand, choose, apply, and immerse ourselves into these scopes of participation? Can techniques of resolution, essentially the optics of sensing and sense-making, act as our collective toolbox, a methodology to chart and forge yet unknown alliances with beings often more sentient than Euro-modern thought had us believe? Isn't this the understanding we need to acquire? And to the family Thoman and everyone involved. Thank you. The hardcore guys. Yeah, man.